Welcome to episode 75 of the podcast. Today we had Gabrielle Wimer of the Walls Do Talk podcast. And Gabrielle has 12 plus years of experience as a crime scene analyst. And it was very interesting getting a firsthand account of her experiences. You know, we talked about a few of the cases that she worked on, and it was very interesting even talking about her first case that she worked on and just the emotions and her experience specifically on that day. And we also talked about her podcast, The Walls Do Talk, and she's dropping an episode very soon, so check that out. But before you guys do, please like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell notification because it helps out with the channel. And also, I dropped some shirts, some podcast merch. So follow my Instagram at bdalecutie and send me a DM. I'll respond. I'm dropping and placing the orders in 2 weeks. So from this date, 2 weeks from now. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this conversation. I surely did. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you. You're on season 2, right?
Yes, but I'm not consistent. So I am on season 2.
I kind of wanted to ask. I mean, before we get into that.
Okay.
I mean, we're just talking about the gym. So you go to you're working out now?
Supposed to, because I know. I think the one thing I wish I had more of was discipline. Like my husband, super disciplined.
Adam.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, it's in his track record since he was young. Like an athlete, you know, just if he sets his mind to something, he's going to do it. For me, the last thing I was super disciplined about was I trained for a half marathon, and it was great.
Oh, nice. Was that local?
No, San Jose for the rock and roll.
Oh, nice.
And it was amazing, but because I trained. And so, you know, whenever you stick to a plan and you discipline, things go really well.
Yeah.
The results are amazing.
Yeah, it's good to have a goal that you're working towards.
Right.
That way you can just, like you said, stay disciplined.
Yeah.
I did the half marathon, my first one in December. It was the Santa to the Sea one.
How'd it go?
That was really good. Like, I think for me personally, it couldn't have gone better. Like, I stuck to the plan.
Right.
And executed it very well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was so like strict with my training, my running, my eating, just being conscious of everything. So when it came time to do the run, I was like, this is not bad at all. And I was like, when I finished, I was like, I felt good. I wasn't dying.
Yeah.
I didn't stop. I was like, I'm not stopping, not even to blow my nose.
even like super hard training workouts, like prior to that.
Right.
I just think to myself, this is helping me out for that moment.
Yeah. Like if you can pull through this, then
it's
cakewalk when it came to the run.
Yeah. And then, I did the LA marathon, first one this year as well.
Okay. So
it was amazing. It was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Just running through, Little Tokyo, Chinatown, people playing drums, a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I think you go down the Walk of Fame. You do go down the Walk of Fame, Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Okay.
You start at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, you do actually.
Yeah.
Adam, he ran it.
Oh, he did?
Right before COVID hit. So it was in
2019?
February? Or when did you guys run it? Because like the next, it was in March, wasn't it?
I think it was April.
April.
Yeah, I think it was March. It was March.
Okay, so 2020 March, like he was still able to run it, I think, right before.
Yeah, because that's right when it happened.
Right, so they were kind of unsure, like, is the marathon going to happen? He's like, it better happen. I've been training.
I actually wish it ended at the Santa Monica Pier, but it doesn't anymore.
No. Where does it end now?
Century. I think it's Century City.
Oh, why did they change it?
I'm not sure.
Because that was cool. Like you had the big grassy area, and I was able to be there, and you have the ocean in the back, and you see the runners come in.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
What was I gonna say? But yes, I am on my second season, and talking about discipline, I think I'm in a space right now. Like I love being creative, but I'm juggling like full-time work, full-time mom, and wife and household, and then I want to like deep dive into this podcast scene as well because I love it. So it's just like. I need to either figure out how to balance it or just get my butt in gear and just keep being consistent with it.
Okay, so for the people that are first time seeing you, just introduce yourself and just tell what you do.
Okay. Well,
and then try and keep the mic just a little bit closer.
I know we didn't do all these prep. All right, how's that sound?
Perfect.
Okay. Do you edit?
I just keep everything. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. Okay. So my name's Gabby. I am a crime scene investigator. I work here locally. I work at Ventura Police Department, and I've been out here in this county for 7 years now. Prior to that, I was down south in the LA area, and prior to that, I was even further south in the San Diego area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I've been doing crime scene investigation for over 13 years now. I absolutely love it. And that's who I am as a crime scene investigator.
Right. And for me personally, I love just like origin stories and like following people's passions. So was this like a passion early on that you really wanted to do, or how did you stumble across crime scene investigation?
I felt it was early on. I mean, since I was little, I loved science. I loved weird shit.
Yeah.
I loved investigations. My mom will always tell the story though, but when I was, and it kind of sounds morbid, but we had a cat and she died. Unfortunately, we had to bury her. And I think I was only like 5 years old. So we went to my grandma's house. That's where all the animals got buried, and we buried her. And I looked at my mom and I said, "Hey, can we dig her up in like 2 weeks to see what she looks like?" My mom looked at me and was like, "No, hell no."
Yeah.
But I was curious. And so,
where do you think that came from? Like just curiosity?
I think just straight curiosity. Like definitely not like a Jeffrey Dahmer, like
I
weird
was
shit.
that.
You know, like my mom was kind of like, "Is my child okay?" No, but I never had any like abnormally weird thoughts. But just curiosity, like what happens to the body. And then the investigative part, like playing Clue as a little kid, that was my favorite game.
Yeah.
And then once you get into like middle school and high school, I definitely already knew I wanted to do crime scene. And I was taking like investigative courses with the police department in hand with my high school. And then from there, already knowing that I wanted to do this in college. So I was fortunate in the sense, like I wasn't searching like, what do I want to do? Who do I want to become? I already had this goal in mind since a very young age.
Right.
And I just stuck with it.
Wow, that's pretty cool actually, that you knew very early on what you wanted to do.
Right.
And I mean, you had basically a clear path towards that. And I feel like a lot of people don't really have an aim or a goal.
Right.
And are kind of just drifting through your life.
Yeah. And I mean, I had friends like that as well. And it's a hard, sometimes that can be a very hard pill to swallow. But I think, it sounds cliche, but we always tell people, if you're passionate about it, just go for it. And fortunately, that's what I was passionate about. And I still am passionate about it. I love investigations, hands down.
Yeah.
Like the greatest rush, thrill, fulfillment that I find is in investigating things.
So, I mean, okay, there's different aspects of being a crime scene investigator. So what did you want to do exactly as far as like position wise? And
Definitely. So forensics is huge, right?
Yeah.
You can either be in the lab or you be out in the field. And I definitely wanted to be out in the field. I love working like hand in hand with detectives. I love working with police officers. And I want to see. I wanted to see. Some people do not want to see dead bodies, do not want to see the gore, do not want to see the craziness of it all. I definitely do. So I knew right then I wanted to be in the scene, like a field technician or whatever you may call it. So I wanted to be on scene. I wanted the crazy hours. I wanted to be called out in the middle of the night. And so that was my main focus. The whole being in the lab, analyzing DNA or ballistics. Geeks. It just didn't appeal to me.
Right.
I might not be like organized enough. You have to be very analytical, very disciplined to get through organic chemistry, to get through all the bio classes.
So and there's some math involved as well.
Definite math. And I was like, I don't know. So I didn't go that route.
Yeah.
I stuck with, I loved anatomy. So I love knowing about how things function, why this occurred. I love, I think more maybe the human mind and behavior behind it all.
Like psychology.
So I get more of that out in the field than I would being in the lab.
Okay.
So
to prepare for this interview, well, I mean, it's kind of serendipitous as well because before Adam mentioned you,
right,
I started rewatching Dexter.
Okay.
Which I love. Like that's my favorite, one of my favorite shows.
Okay.
And I mean, there's similarities in what you do, but obviously it's like TV, so it's not like 100%.
Right.
Like on point.
Right.
What are the things that are like? Have you watched it? Have you seen it?
Oh, I love Dexter. Yes.
Okay, so like, what are some things that are kind of similar or that come to your mind?
Definitely. Okay, so right off the bat, I think all investigative shows are great and cop shows because the humor and the wittiness.
Yeah.
That's hands down the truth. If you ever want like a good storyteller, 99% of the time you get a detective up here, they're going to knock your socks off just because of how their brain works, how they retell a story, how they look and analyze situations. So that the humor and just the camaraderie that was on Dexter, that's very true.
Interesting.
Dexter coming in and analyzing the blood the way he did.
Yeah.
No, it's a very meticulous, tedious process.
Right.
But they do come out. If there's blood everywhere, you're calling out a criminalist and that have a science background, and they're going to be doing looking at the physics of the blood, you know, the path, the travel, and the force that was used to create that pattern. So that is very true. You had Masuka. He was hilarious. Hilarious.
Those freaking jokes that come out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
The inappropriate jokes. Yeah. Oh, God. The sexual humor is huge.
Right.
And all the inappropriateness is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. But that's very true. And then, like, they come in with the photography and having detectives on scene and doing all the follow-up. That's pretty much very true as well.
Uh-huh.
But of course, it's Hollywood, so they
okay.
exaggerate and glamorize it. Our job is amazing in that sense. Like, there is a lot of energy at the very beginning. Like, oh shit, this just popped off. We discovered 2 headless bodies in an apartment. Everybody's there on scene. I mean, there's a lot going on. But then after that, it slows down. People are doing interviews. We're at a crime scene for like something like that. 20 hours you could be there, and it's time consuming. So they never show like the
time.
Yeah, they never show the little tiny, long, tedious stuff that we have to do.
Right.
So
I kind of noticed because I work at a hospital, and even just doctors that deal with like blood, all that gore and stuff, they have like this certain like mentality or kind of like I wouldn't say like blandness, but like they have, like you said, just jokes that are just random, or is that like a way of coping with all that stuff, or is that
it might be a way of coping, or I think I don't want to say they get desensitized, they're not empathetic towards their victim or their patient as far as like a doctor goes, or us.
Yeah.
We see it so much, so it's not like the shock value is not there anymore for us. Whereas a normal person might like pass out seeing that for the first time because you're just not mentally prepared. Your brain is not wired to be able to see things like that.
Right.
So on the first time, it's like overload, and you could pass out, you could throw up, you want to turn away. But once you see it like 50 to 100 times, you're like, damn, all right. Like, it's no big thing. You could be like, wow, where are we going to get lunch? Like, yes, hurry up and pick up all the pieces of the brain, but where are we getting lunch? You're able to do that.
I remember this was like 2 years ago, and I was driving on Harbor Boulevard, and you may or may not have heard of it, but there was this guy, I think he was riding a bike, and this was by the bridge. Apparently, one person hit that guy riding the bike, and then another car hit him as well, and like that car took off. But I was like the 4th car behind that car that hit him, and I saw the person on the floor, and I was driving, and I passed the body, and I saw this guy's arm like separated from it. I was like, oh damn.
I was there.
Oh, you were there.
So that was Super Bowl night. That was Sunday night.
Yes, it was.
I remember because Super Bowl was Sunday night. He did get hit twice. You're very correct.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most gnarly vehicle like hitting a pedestrian like scene I've been to. Like, it looked like a train hit him.
Yeah, I'm like, how does that happen? Like, how does this guy's arm get separated from his body? Like, I'm not into forensics, so I don't know. That's just like a random thought.
The force of that vehicle, and however that limb got caught under that undercarriage, that's the force that was used to remove it. I still have vision like that one. That scene is still hard for me to look at, in the sense like it's pretty gory.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It was bad. But now that makes okay. So you work in a hospital. So do you see these type of things? Or
I'm not like a nurse or anything. I'm more in like engineering facilities.
Okay.
So, but we do sometimes go into surgery, and then like there's windows there, and we see people being operated on. My dad worked there as well. He's in facilities, and one time he saw like someone with like 3rd-degree burns like on his full body. Yeah. So that's like something intense.
Okay. So for me, that scene was like, oh damn. Everyone on that scene was like, damn, this was a pretty bad one. But for you, you don't see things like that. So how was it for you to see like You saw a limb
I
just chilling.
I almost ran it over.
See?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, dude, that was an arm.
Right.
And that was very shocking.
I'm like, do you know what the second car was? We're still looking for
No,
it.
no, I did not see it.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
only
shocking,
read,
right?
so I saw it, and then I was like, oh, dude, I gotta look more into this. And I actually downloaded a police scanner and everything
Okay.
like after that just to
Right.
listen. But then I followed up with the story and everything. And I found out that there was a second car.
Right.
I did not see it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm all. If you remember anything from that night, please let us know.
Yeah.
And and
What's the number?
339. Just call 911. Say non-emergency. Transfer me, please. But yeah, I was there that night. I remember.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
yeah, that stretch of road right there, we have so many people getting hit. There's a lot of foot traffic and
Yeah,
cars.
that little area
Yeah.
is filled with homeless people.
Yeah, right there to the, I guess, east, across the other side of the
Yeah.
ocean area, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lot of foot traffic that tries to cross there, but then we have people that drive fast. I think the speed limit there is what, 45 or 55, but people are going 65, 70. And so there's no way people misjudge. Like, you're not going to outrun a car.
Yeah.
It comes a lot faster. But yeah, that's crazy. But that scene was crazy.
Yeah.
I can still picture all the pieces in my mind because it was so like, okay, I've been to train accidents. This is what a train looks like,
Oh,
not a car.
wow.
Yeah. It's
Dang,
pretty
and I
intense.
also remember I was driving slowly, and I was and you know that kind of like that road rage, like, why is this person driving so freaking slow? And then I saw this person on the I forgot, I think it was the first person they hit. I don't know, but she was pointing at him. She's like, he's dead, he's dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
Yeah, the family that had stopped their initial, I felt so bad for them because they're just, it's family, and you never want to have to be put in that situation, or,
Yeah.
it just sucks. So
Yeah.
you're on scene, you're trying to deal with the scene, and then you're trying to make the family feel as comfortable as possible.
Okay, so when something like that happens, this is kind of a good, I wouldn't say good, but for example purposes,
Right.
When something like that happens for you, what do you do specifically?
Like, so specifically for a traffic accident?
Yeah, or like something like a crime scene.
Oh, crime scene. Okay.
Like that's considered a crime scene, right? Hit and run.
Yeah, it's a hit and run.
Yeah.
So for that specific, like anything to do with vehicles and pedestrians being hit, killed, it's an investigation for our motor unit. So the motor officers and detectives who investigate traffic collisions arrive on scene, and I'm there just to assist, and it's usually just with photography because they're amazing at what they do as far as reconstruction and identifying what is evidence. But so on traffic scenes, I'm there just for photos. Any other crime scene, most of the crime scenes I respond to have to do with like violent crimes. Like someone got fucked up, and that's why I'm there. So I'm there to document, collect evidence, and identify any other potential evidence. So photographs. As soon as I arrive on scene, I'll meet with detectives or officers. They kind of give me a breakdown of what they believe has occurred and where my crime scene is located.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's up to me to go there. And I really take my time. This is where like I'm visually taking everything in. I'm writing notes. I'm documenting the crap out of everything. Like,
Right.
what's the weather like? What do I smell? Is it warm? Who's around? Is it nighttime? Is it daytime? Is the neighborhood quiet? Is the neighborhood, anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll photograph everything in place. And then that's when I start. The best part, I think, is like you're combing through your scene, whether it's indoors or outdoors, but I'm looking for every little piece of evidence that could potentially tell the story. And that goes with blood, like DNA, blood, semen, hair, fibers, ballistics, firearms, bullets, casings, tire marks, shoe wear marks, fingerprints. Like I'm looking, there's a lot we look for.
Yeah.
It's fun. So that's my job, is to identify evidence and then collect it properly, bring it all back to the lab so it can get analyzed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And can you remember just like your early years where, like you said, it's kind of like the first time seeing all that stuff? And like, I mean, I'm sure you've had prior training before that, so it's kind of like a transition into that. But how was that first initial few years of doing it?
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's because it's what you've always wanted to do. So there's an adrenaline rush. I'm going to go back. Can I tell you a story?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right.
We
There's the
got
story.
time.
The story is on my podcast.
Okay.
But it was, I was down south, and it was going to be my first scene where there was an actual dead body there.
Yeah.
That had been like something violent had occurred. So they call me, and this is when I'm just an intern. I interned for over a year with a really large agency. Amazing. So I'm an intern. I'm on call that weekend. I get the call in the middle of the night, and I'm excited because like I'm brand new, and I can't wait. So I get out there, and what had happened, this guy got attacked inside of an apartment, and the person who owned the apartment came home, and it was just like a friend that was like chilling at his apartment or whatever. It was kind of like a crash pad. Think of it like guys live down, young, they're surfers, like anyone can come and go, like my house is open type of situation. And so it was one of his buddies. I guess he had come over. Well, he got attacked while he was there. And when we walk in, he got attacked and he was killed. So I walk into the scene with the crime scene investigator, and there's the guy laying on the ground. And I remember he has big blue eyes, and they're wide open. His face is covered in blood, and his head is barely hanging on by like a couple of threads.
Oh, man.
That's my first dead body. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I can't stop looking. And the crime scene and it's a small little apartment, tiny, and he's right there in the living room, just laid out, head just barely hanging on, like, right there.
At that moment, like, what were you like? What were you going through at that time? Were you trying to like stay professional? Were you trying to like process everything?
I was trying to process everything.
Okay.
And I think it was one of those moments. They're like, Gabby, and I was like, yes, I'm here.
Oh, shit.
She's like, I'm her gopher, right? I need you to get me placards. I need bags. I need gloves. Go do your thing as an intern. That's what you do. Go get all my shit for me. Okay.
And coffee.
Yeah, and coffee, right? But I was like, I felt like I was just like in my own little world because everyone's there doing their job. You got detectives there, you got officers there, you got people being interviewed. So it's like this picture like a Dexter where he's there just with the blood and everybody's moving around him.
Right.
And that's how I felt. I was just looking and I couldn't stop looking. It's one of those, you just can't stop looking. I'm like,
that's intense.
I just kept looking. So, it was a long scene. Crime scenes are never short. We were there from early or middle of the night all the way till late in the evening. So that was my first introduction. And since the body had died inside and it was so violent, there was tons of blood spatter everywhere. We didn't move him. So I literally chilled with this dude for like 8 hours of just him laying there. And I couldn't you can't stop but just like look at his eyes or look inside his neck. And I'm like, oh shit, and then even at some point you're like, what if he were just to stand up and start talking? Your mind just starts going places because the only time you see dead bodies are usually like that.
Right.
Horror movies. That was my first okay, this stuff really does happen. Amazing scene. I remember going home that night and I was exhausted, but like elated at the same time. I remember telling my roommate I got my first scene. I haven't slept in I don't know how many hours, but I'm going to take a shower because I feel gross because I'm hanging out with this dead bloody guy all day. And I remember going to sleep and it was probably 6 p.m, still kind of daylight. And the creepy thing was, so I go to sleep, I knock out hard because I haven't slept. And in the middle of the night, I jolt awake and my eyes open, my room's dark, and the smell of his blood just hits me.
Oh, shit.
That's the first thing, it just hit me. And I thought, okay, wait, where am I? I'm like, okay, I'm in my room. What time is it? I have no clue. Creeped me out. I kind of just sunk back into my bed, covered my head, and went back to bed. And I woke up the next morning, and I thought, oh, that was creepy. But I couldn't stop smelling his blood that night. It was just weird.
Wow.
It's the first time really smelling it, and I don't know if it smelled sweet. It smelled like metal. It's creepy. Like
iron.
Yeah, blood has this of course the iron you smell. It smells like nickels, they say.
Yeah.
And but then sweetness. I don't know if he had alcohol in his system or just has a certain smell.
And how long were you on that case for? Or is that I don't know how that works. So
we went in at 2 a.m. This is when everything kicked off, when he was discovered. And I think we were done 4 or 5 o'clock the next day in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But once you're done, as if that was my case, you finish with your scene, you collect all your evidence, you bring it back to the station, we're booking all the evidence. And then at that, if anything needs further processing, then you're still working on that case.
Because with that, like if the evidence is not all collected, that guy would still have to stay there, and you can't touch anything, right? Like anything
on him, right?
Yeah.
So he stays there. Most counties, you don't have like jurisdiction over the body. That's the medical examiner's office. So once we were done collecting everything around him and documenting, then the medical examiner comes in and they take the body away.
Right.
Because then autopsy needs to be performed. And that's a whole other function and fun thing to do.
Right.
With crime scene. But yeah, once you're done, like that's it. You're done. Like, the scene is done. Everyone leaves. It's been thoroughly processed. All the evidence from that scene has been collected, and we're done. And now it's up to the owner of the apartment or the manager to clean it up. So gross.
Is there anything that like that's fun about it, like as far as like just anything that stands out? Because there's all the gory stuff, but what's like the fun, exciting parts about that? What do you think?
I mean, gosh, there's so much fun stuff about it. You have to love, like, it's just investigations. Like, you want to know what happened. I mean, everybody that drives by the yellow tape, everybody that drives by the police cars with the lights on, they have a scene. Everyone's going to stop and look and go, I wonder what happened. And then people think they know what happened. They have, opinions, and they still don't know what happened. But I do. So working in law enforcement, as a crime scene, you have like a backstage pass to all the crazy shit that goes down that everybody wants to tune into, that everybody wants to know about, that everyone has an opinion about. Right. But you actually know like the true facts. You can't share them. Yeah. But it's like you have this secret knowledge to things that are going on. Another great aspect, like it's just fun. But no one's ever been,
Where's this place from? Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Like very random.
Have you ever been to Cielo's?
No.
Okay, Cielo's is on 5th Street. No, excuse me, 4th Street. Oh, you have to go to Cielo's.
Yeah, definitely gotta go.
Okay, so it's like 4th and B or 4th and A. It's the old Woolworths building. It's just a little small coffee shop, and they have amazing pastries. They have crepes. It's
oh cool. Definitely
beautiful.
Gotta check that out.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so cool part. Briefing. Sorry, a homicide briefing. One of the coolest things that you could ever be a part of, I think, in my field. So picture yourself walking into a room, and it's a room about the size of your studio. You got a table in the middle, and some crazy shit has just popped off, right? You got multiple people stabbed, shot, whatever, serial killer on the loose, whatever your case is. But it doesn't matter. We're not going to wait to brief at 8 a.m. the next morning. No, motherfuckers, you better show up at 3 a.m. We're briefing. We have to brainstorm. It's time to brainstorm. That's everybody. Okay. So you have patrol in there. Everybody that's working the case. Okay. You have patrol in there. You have your undercover officers and detectives in there. You have your homicide detectives in there. You have your command staff in there. You have your crime scene people in there.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot. But you're sitting down at this round table, and all of a sudden you have someone that comes in. They give the story of what happened to get everybody up to speed. Like, hey, we had an individual come into the bank, shots fired, 2 people held at gunpoint, 1 girl stabbed to death. We have a red, they're giving a breakdown of all the evidence they have, depending on the scene. Right. And at this point, it's like, all right, here are our suspects. You have pictures taped all over the walls. You have all the people involved. Here's your victim. Here's your suspect. Here's players that are associates. And now it's time to be like, how are we going to catch these motherfuckers? What are we going to come up with to find them, to get them, to get the best evidence? And it's just people throwing out ideas. And it doesn't matter if you're a commander all the way down to like patrol, as far as like chain of command and rank. Everybody's opinion is valued. Someone might have some like off the wall opinion. Exactly. Kind of like or like this strategy. Is like Dexter. This is when Deborah has this idea and then kind of gets rejected or something. Right. But in this room, your idea is like thought. Like, all right, well let me play devil's advocate. What if we do this? What if we strategize this way? And it's the most amazing think tank brainstorm session you could ever be a part of. Like, people want to think tank and brainstorm like on advertisement. Like, okay, that's cool. But come think tank and brainstorm in a homicide room with everybody and their mama putting their best brains forward to figure out how we're going to catch our suspects. It's the coolest thing ever. So
that sounds cool.
Like, it's just, you like, a lot of times I'm just a fly on the wall. Yeah. And sometimes if I hear something, I'm like, well, I'll talk about the evidence more. Like, I can get evidence from that. So if you guys find that, bring that to me.
Right.
But a lot of times I'm just sitting there soaking it in, and it's the language that's used.
So, okay, this is just a really random question as well. Growing up and going to school, was there any sort of classes that you took that were like that? Because I feel like, at least in high school, there aren't really that like classes or teachers that are very passionate about this stuff.
Right.
And I feel like if there were teachers that were very passionate about stuff like that, then more people would be like gravitate towards that.
Right.
Or but for you, in your example.
So growing up at my time, because I'm 30. I keep want to say I'm 38. I'm not. I'm 39.
Yeah.
Holy moly. We had just investigations. Like crime scene wasn't really that big yet. Because everyone always says, everyone goes, did you watch like CSI Las Vegas? Is that why you want to do crime scene? I'm like, no, that show wasn't even on yet. Like I just wanted to do it because I thought investigating crime was cool.
Right.
So we had science, didn't talk about crime scene. We had teachers that were police officers that would teach us what it's like to work in law enforcement. And part of that was investigations, but not until I got to college where there are actual like crime scene courses being offered, but very slim, like maybe one or two.
Okay.
Now our field is pretty impacted. There is a lot of interest.
That's cool.
Yeah. So more and more I'm finding that we are having people like myself in the profession actually working or moonlighting, or not moonlighting, but teaching the courses as well. So that's huge. In high schools, even in our area, especially in the bigger cities, you're going to have crime scene modules, I guess, or some sort of forensics shown to these kids at a young age. Yeah. Because our field is growing, tremendously. And I know within our county, like Ventura College, they're starting the works of a 2-year degree in like forensic studies or whatever they're going to call it. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
That's huge. Right now they've just had like investigative classes. So a lot of people have reached out to me and different crime scene people within our community, like, hey, how do I go about schooling? What do you recommend? I'm like, just sit tight. VC, Ventura College, is coming with a brand new forensic program. And
that's great for people to know.
Yes. And I just got word that Channel Islands, it's probably, I think, 3 years in the making, they will have a degree, a Bachelor of Science degree in forensic science coming.
Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's huge because the closest you have like San Jose State, or you have Cal State LA or Long Beach. You got to go away. But for people that want to stay local and go to that beautiful college, they're going to have a forensic degree coming soon.
Wow. And then, let's talk about the technology and stuff. What has changed, or like, has there been any like groundbreaking technology or stuff like that's helped out a lot?
So
like, I'm sure like phones and like satellites are able to target and stuff like that.
Over the years, of course, digital forensics like cell phones, AI has definitely increased. It's hard to go anywhere without being tracked right now.
Yeah.
Everyone has a phone, and guess what? We're able to pinpoint your location with the help of our cellular companies,
Right.
And then on the digital forensic side of things, of course, DNA is booming. The biggest thing right now, I think, is at the forefront, and you'll see most often in the news, is the use of genetic genealogy. So you're having these cold case homicides that have great DNA evidence being submitted, and we have genetic genealogists now taking a look at these cases, because it's right now you have something called CODIS, right? It's a national database where it has all the DNA from all of our violent offenders, missing people. They're in there. So, hey, if you go out and commit a crime and we swab your DNA and you have your DNA will be, put into the system. So if you commit a crime again, guess what? We're going to match you.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of people out there that have committed some very violent crimes, especially like in the 60s and 70s.
I was going to mention that, like the documentaries on Netflix, like John Wayne Casey.
Yep.
There was bodies like in the ground, and they weren't able to detect them because they weren't in the database, and like the technology wasn't there yet.
Yeah. So that's why there's a lot of people we just had something pop off in Oxnard. Like it was 2 months ago, they identified an individual through genetic genealogy, and they linked him possibly to 2 homicides that took place here in Oxnard, I believe in the 80s and 90s.
Whoops.
Oh no.
Keep going.
Okay. And so with that, genetic genealogy is amazing. So I know you have a lot of people that maybe did some crazy crap in the 70s, never got caught, but they left their DNA behind. Investigators are now able to tap into those databases, the 23andMe, the Ancestry.com, and start building family trees.
Okay, 1 second. We're going to stop, and we're going to come back. And we're back. We had some technical difficulties, but we're back.
Check 1 2, check 1 2.
Yes.
All right, genetic genealogy. It's booming. It's crazy. So if you did something really, really bad and you think you got away with it, you should think again.
So can you kind of explain just how, like, that case in Oxford that was found through genetic genealogy?
I wish I could
Not go into detail, but
or no, I wish I could more, but I know you guys can bring it up online. It's a guy, gosh, he just here in the community, just hanging out. I have another one that, well, we didn't do genetic, but I can talk about it. But the way they do it, I believe that it was either like a niece or a cousin, first cousin, submitted their DNA to 23andMe or to Ancestry, because everyone's like, I want to know where I'm from. I want,
that's another thing, like, I'm kind of scared about is that, like, they have that all stored in a database.
They do. They
and
do.
It's like, I mean, I would say that's kind of sketch in a way, because
no, it's not.
like
promote it. I want to solve crimes. No, I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Scary, very scary.
It is. But a lot of people have swabbed. I know some people are like, nope, I'm not swabbing.
Yeah.
I'm not swabbing. But that's a lot of cases are being looked at that way. And you have people that, and you're not even law enforcement. Not saying they're not even law enforcement, but they're not law enforcement. They're just people that are passionate about genealogy, and they're able to build these family trees. So they get your DNA. So they got that DNA from the cold case. They got, and then they entered it, and they saw, the genetic markers, and they compared it to the DNA that was entered into 23andMe and to those genetic markers, and they saw how closely they matched, right?
Right.
Or how closely they were related. They were able to tell. And it's not a direct match, but they're like, these markers are very similar. That looks like it's going to be a first cousin to this individual. So then now they have to kind of, all right, whose mom is whose grandparent is who would be around, then it comes to detective work. Who would be around that age during that time to commit that crime? Where did they live? Would it be, it's not going to be the 7-year-old, but it's going to be maybe that 17-year-old. They were 17 at the time and they did this. Are they possible of rape and homicide?
Yeah.
Sure are, and they kind of just work backwards, and then you start developing your suspects.
And so before that, what were they using to identify? Just bones and like teeth and stuff?
For
as far as like identifying someone that, like, in the past, that,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can, as far as identifying someone in the past, I can talk about a case that I actually was present on.
Okay.
It's not my agency. I got to just be there to observe what happened. There was a young girl that was killed. She, I believe, so I'm not going to give the case name because I don't want to get the information wrong, out of respect. She was young. She was she was like 9 years old, very young. She was found actually out here in our county. She was bound and raped and killed. As very young, So they had a really good DNA sample that was left behind on her. And they had entered it into our CODIS database, right? And nothing. No hits. And it doesn't just go in there and then that's it. No, it stays in there. And the database will continuously search it over and over throughout the years. It will forever stay in there until someone takes it out. And so the agency was like reviewing the case a few years ago, and they're like, man, we have this amazing profile, but we have this amazing DNA profile that was left behind on the young girl, but it's not hitting to anybody known in our database. So they sent it off to a private company that does DNA analysis and genealogy and all this. And the company said, let us see your sample. We'll enter it into our database. Maybe we can give you like a rough sketch of what your offender is going to look like. Like, do they have blonde hair, black hair, blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, And it's just a little bit of something that we can do for you. So the department said, sure, we'll send it off. And they also said, well, can we enter it into the database of like the 23andMe's and the GEDmatch and the Ancestry? They're like, yeah, go ahead. Do what you want. And they're like, cool, we'll give you our sketch of what it is, of what you think your perpetrator looks like in a couple weeks. Oh, they called them back immediately. They said, we just got a hit we know, we just got a hit to your DNA sample. They're like, what do you mean? They're like, your suspect has a child living in Northern California. The DNA matches so closely to this girl living in Northern California.
That's wild.
To the DNA that you gave us, right?
Yeah.
And so, of course, this is where the investigative part kicks in. Detectives are like, well, of course, it can't be the 23-year-old girl that killed our 9-year-old back in the 70s. So they go and start doing like a little bit background information on her, find out who her mom is, and they actually interview the mom of that child. And she goes, oh, yeah, we haven't seen her dad in years. He's crazy. And he actually,
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. And we're like, mm-hmm. Like, he moved out of the state, and he's actually dead. He passed away, but we know where he's buried. And so once doing a little bit of background and check on him, he turned out to be a very violent man, but he was never swabbed or put into the system. He was convicted of or charged with rapes. He was violent, but he was never convicted. So we actually had to dig up the body. And they did. They dug him up out of his grave. Mm-hmm. They took some of the crucial bones, like jawbone, I think a femur. She might cough. Mm-hmm. Ground down the bones, extracted DNA, and it was 100% match to the DNA left on the little girl.
Wow.
That was their suspect. Fortunately, he was dead, but they identified it. The family got closure, and it was amazing.
So, I don't know if I caught this right. Are you able to tell?
Sorry.
No worries. Are you able to tell what like race and gender they are based off of the DNA or like the chromosomes? Or
I believe so, because even so, like when you submit your
it tells like your prior.
There's some markers, right? Your DNA will hit markers that say that your DNA is indigenous to this region and this region. Like when I did mine, I'm like, yeah, it's spot on. Like it said all, like I'm a big mutt, right?
Yeah.
But it definitely pointed out all the different regions that my DNA was aligned with. So yeah, so that's why they're able to, things like phenotyping, they're able to tell like whether Nordic, like does your offender have light skin, darker skin, green eyes, brown eyes, black hair, blonde hair.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, I don't see it used as often, but at least they give you like a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like if you just, you had no idea who your suspect was. It's like, well, let's try and see what maybe they're from this area or they're, especially like if we're in the States and you have someone that, strong pull to Spain or whatever, you're going to start looking in that direction. Mm-hmm. So.
Wow.
Technology. So yes, the technology is amazing. I would say DNA is like at the forefront right now with the genetic genealogy. It's huge. And then AI. AI is huge. Yeah. And I can't even wrap my brain around how much AI can do right now because it's just, it's pretty cool. But the way I think of it, like unless you like super plan your homicide, like if it's not premeditated, like good luck getting away with it.
Yeah.
Really. Because
cameras everywhere. And
we're able to
being tracked and databased, and
people go, oh, the government. I'm like, you have a phone, like you're done.
Yeah.
You drive a car, you're done.
The thing that I'm scared of though is, and this is just another side tangent, in China where they have everything just like a social credit system and they can tell by facial recognition if you're jaywalking, and then that will go towards your social credit system, and
it's crazy.
That stuff I'm terrified about.
It's coming.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. I know.
I was just reading something about especially like the facial recognition and all the biometrics with travel, right? Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be like we shouldn't have to deal with like lost luggage anymore. They're going to start like air tagging the baggage tags and that kind of stuff, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have lost luggage like when you can track your bag?
Right.
Like, oh, it's in so-and-so, it's in Stockton. And then same with like the biometrics for customs, right? We no longer have to like get these papers and show our passport. We're just going to be scanned, like facial recognition, boop, clear, go.
Right. Like Amazon Fresh, just go there, go in, come out.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's coming. It's here.
Yeah.
It's here. But yeah. So as far as technology, I would say that's it. Not it, but those are the things that come to mind.
And like at least within like the past year with AI and stuff, it's just exponentially grown.
Right.
Super fast.
Oh, right. We can't even like the things that I think that I was listening to podcasts and things that we envision taking place in 2030 were done in 2019. You know, just when they're the forethought, like, okay, this should be able to be accomplished by 2030.
Oh yeah.
It was already accomplished in 2019. Like, we're way ahead of schedule from what we even like fathomed. So many people, like, you know, there's only a few people that make like that quantum leap, you know.
Right.
Elon Musk.
Oh yeah.
Albert Einstein. There's a few in our lifetime that we get to experience. I'm for it.
I'm waiting to experience Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk in the cage
Are
match.
they really?
They're actually doing that.
No.
Yeah, it was confirmed. I think Dana White last night talked to both of them.
Way.
And it's definitely on. So
what's their height? Like, what's their biometrics? I don't know the height on these guys or their arm length.
Well, Elon definitely has a height advantage and a weight advantage, but Zuckerberg has Brazilian jiu-jitsu training with him, so that's like a huge advantage.
I'll tune in for that.
Yeah.
As long as it lasts more than like
celebrity death match.
Oh my gosh, the little clay figures. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. But yeah. So what else do you want to know about crime scenes in the world?
I actually do want to talk about because I listened to the Borderline podcast that you did.
Right.
And I did have an experience with that as well because I worked at the hospital there.
Okay.
That was nearby where patients were being transported. And so this, like you said, it happened on a Wednesday night. I worked the graveyard shift.
Okay.
So I came in at midnight that night. And when I came in, a lot of traffic going on. I'm walking through the front. That's where the ER is. And then I see a bunch of people there, bloody. I'm like, damn, I didn't know what happened.
Right.
That's probably one of the craziest things I've seen other than the guy on Harbor.
Yeah.
And then I also saw Sergeant Helis in the ER.
Right.
And I don't want to and you guys made a great point. That's something that I don't want him to be known for, but definitely want him to be known for what he did. Yeah. And so that's kind of the experience I had with that.
Was it like a surreal moment for you or?
Very surreal.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And just people, I remember seeing people on the floor, like bloody and crying and, I was like, damn. This is intense.
It is. I think when we see trauma like that, like I said, we're not prepared to see that kind of trauma.
Yeah.
That I was away at training when that happened to my partner. I had my phone on silent because I was sharing a room with another, was with an officer, and we were actually on peer support. We were in training for peer support. And so like when a major incident happens, we're there to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I wake up in the morning and I had like 15 missed calls, and I'm like, the heck? And I turn my phone on, we turn the news on. I'm like, oh, we had no idea.
Uh-huh.
And so I called my sergeant. He's like, well, Kim's with the FBI right now. She's helping out. Call her. I don't think I need you out there, but call her. And yeah, she was like, no, it's okay, Abby. Like, you don't have to come out here. She's like, you don't need to see this. Like, it was just a very somber, quick conversation that I had with her. And we talked a little bit about like what she saw, and it was bad. It was real bad. Yeah. But yeah, as a traumatic incident. Yeah. Very traumatic. Yeah.
I knew people that were there inside that when it happened as well.
Right.
So.
Jeez. And did you know people that had passed, or they were just there to experience it?
Yeah,
okay,
they experienced it.
Right. Yeah. One of our officers was there that night as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he helped get people to safety, which was amazing. But like, damn, I look at him sometimes and I think, you've been through a lot of stuff. Yeah. It's pretty traumatic. And yeah, even sitting here, I'm like, I have no idea what that feels like to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Right. Experiencing that night.
Uh-huh.
And then, yeah, my partner, we talked a little bit about it. Just like I said, they don't move the bodies right away if they don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
So just being there with a lot of dead bodies, a lot of chaos. But did you find yourself thinking about it? You know, visualizing that night at the hospital?
Yeah, for like a few months. And, you know, as time goes on, it kind of just like, just
dissipates
a bit. Yeah.
to the back, but it stays with you.
Yeah, it does. Like the one that stayed with me was that guy in Harbor. It's like,
yeah,
that was like, so like, I was shook. I was very shook.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of those things, like I said, I'm on peer support. And so we know people always ask me, like, does it affect you, the things that you see?
That's the thing I wanted to ask is like, how do people and yourself kind of, the word like compartmentalize that?
I think we do.
Yeah.
Because to say, oh, it doesn't affect me, that's a lie.
Right.
Not every scene will affect you the same way, but anyone in law enforcement that sees this kind of stuff or traumatic, even doctors, nurses, fire, anybody, if they tell you it doesn't affect them, they have to be lying. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I think, like you said, you're never able to forget that image or that experience. There's no way to erase that from your mind. Like, it's here, you experienced it, and you're going to remember it. So you store it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is to deal with, like, if I have like a really heavy scene, I'll deal with the trauma right away. Meaning I'll talk about it. I'll cry if I need to cry. Not there on scene, but when I get home. And exercise, eat healthy. I don't really drink alcohol. Of course, I don't do drugs. But all those things, like, I try to make sure that my body stays like at optimum performance.
Right.
Mentally and physically, so that I can process these things and handle these incidences as they come. But I know that, sorry, freaking phlegm. I know that, like, we had a psychologist, and he was amazing. Before he retired, he would come debrief us, but he's like, those incidents, they're scarred on you forever. So wear it like a badge of honor that you were there to assist and to help in some way, shape, or form, and they're always going to stay with you like a scar. Like, you look at a scar and you remember, like, oh yeah, that hurt. It's kind of the same thing, but you don't let it debilitate you.
Yeah. I mean, now that you mention that, I'm just thinking about people that come back from like war and stuff, and like what they have to go through,
right?
And like what they see,
right? Like I gosh, I probably will never listen to this podcast, but my dad's a perfect example. He went to Vietnam. I love the man to death, and he's the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. Sweetest, won't say a bad thing about anybody. And they didn't have any debriefing or psychology. They saw some crazy things out there.
Yeah.
It wasn't until recently, with me doing this kind of podcasting, where I got him to start like opening up about what he saw over there, and actually like answering me back, because before I'm like, it's no big deal.
Right.
And so now he'll share, and he'll share a lot funny stories, some very serious stuff too. And there's tears that come with that, but he's never sought any help. And he's 75 now, and he still have dreams where he's fighting somebody, his dreams of battle still. And he'll wake up like, what? And I'm like, dude, or try and wake him up. He can get up in a fight panic position. Yeah. I'm like, wow, I'm never waking your old ass up again. You may be dying. I'm going to leave you there. And he laughs, and I laugh. But it's very apparent that, he still deals with the trauma of having to go to war. It's never dealt with. And now, luckily, generations now, they're experiencing PTSD. Like, it's very real, but there's so much more awareness, and people talk about it, and there's help.
It's more open. Mental health is a thing.
Oh, yeah. Mental health is like the forefront of everything right now, right? Yeah. Good or bad.
Isn't it like this month, mental
health awareness?
Health awareness month or something like that?
I should know.
I think it is. I want to say it is. I've heard it somewhere.
Right.
But now I'm seeing that we have access to the internet, footage of, the war in Ukraine and Russia, and seeing that, it's like, damn, that's really intense.
Right.
And that gives you, the person watching, like inside perspective of like what they're seeing, what they're going through. And I remember seeing like some guy's jaw like just blown off, and like,
it's
yeah.
And I get, like, we're able to see those images, right?
But it's different just being there.
And I think I was just having this conversation. I think sometimes, like, we have so much access to footage of the war
Mm-hmm.
or footage of someone getting hit by a car or being shot or stabbed or beat up. Like, you can watch videos on that kind of stuff all day.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's like lightheartedness with it or like whatever with it.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I feel like it's made our society a little
Numb. Desensitized.
like, oh, we got shot. No big deal. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me right now? It's a huge deal. But they don't realize that until it actually occurs to them.
Okay.
Right. I just
Well,
feel like it's
okay,
like
this
it's a
is-
catch-22.
This is kind of a good segue because I do want to talk about. I seen recently just the increase in crime and just a lot of stuff going on, homelessness.
Right.
Have you noticed anything like in these past few years that like increasing of crime or just like more intense stuff going on or?
So the violent nature of things going on, like people getting like easily agitated or like, oh, they cut me off so I wouldn't stab their bumper. I'm like why? Like, someone cut you off so you feel the need to like beat them up or, I like quick triggered. Like, people get triggered so
Right.
easily or just pop off on someone in public because they upset them. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I've seen an upcrease in that. I've seen upcrease in drug use, especially it's unfortunate, but like the pills and having
fentanyl. Yeah.
so we have like not our everyday users, but our users are like hardcore users that are smoking fentanyl like 5 times a day, and they're living. But what I've seen, which is unfortunate, is young kids that are 18, 19, 20, starting to explore the world of pills, and they're like, I'm just gonna try it. I'm just gonna pop one. And it's a bad one, and done. Your life is literally done.
Yeah.
So I've seen like when you have like 7 people under the age of 24 die from drug overdoses, from like taking Xanax, and it's laced with fentanyl. Like, it's pretty sad. And that was like my life. The last couple of years, I feel like I've seen a huge uptick in that, and it's like, yeah, when you have a mom saying, my son was a good son, like, he never did drugs, like, he just started hanging out with these guys and they gave it to him, and the guys admitted, like, yeah, we just met him, so we said, here, try it, and he OD'd and died, all because he was curious. And it's like, fuck. So I've seen an upcrease in that.
Do you agree with I think in like Portland or Washington, they legalize this stuff and it gives people access like to like it being more of I would say institutionalized, like kind of, I don't even know how you would explain it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
you
safer
come here
access.
like a safe space
Yeah.
to go do your drugs. I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't know if that, like, why, like, why,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I feel like that's already here in California, like a safe space to do your drugs. A safe space doesn't need to be created because they just literally take
Just
over a
happens.
park and do it right there in front of everybody. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there doesn't need to be the designated space, because I feel like it's already happening, and it's happening so much that,
Right.
like, even within our city, like, officers, there's only so much they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how
Just
I feel.
like here, there's a few homeless people
Yeah.
that are living in the dumpsters and stuff.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I feel homelessness is a huge problem.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't live outside of California, so I can't go off of what their news says or what, but in California it's huge. And I
Yeah.
get it. Housing is expensive, but we're also creating an environment where they can do that. And with homelessness, it's unfortunate, but that comes trash and drug use and crime, because they need to fuel a drug habit. Not all of them, but the ones that are, using drugs.
Right.
So it's just a vicious cycle.
I was in Tokyo in March, and I saw at least like 5 or 4 homeless people out of the entire city. There's not that many homeless people
Right.
there. Yeah.
I just went to Portugal in December. Same
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
It was very clean. There was no trash. And we were in the main hub. We were in Lisbon.
Uh-huh.
I saw maybe one homeless person.
Yeah.
And granted, I mean, we're
Tourists.
tourists
Yeah.
walking everywhere and anywhere, all hours of the day and night. And I saw one homeless person. I didn't see
Right.
anybody begging for money. I didn't see any drug use. Even though I'm not saying it's not there, but I'm not
Right.
just seeing like people on the corner shooting up or
Yeah.
taking a shit.
Yeah.
Like, LA's horrible.
San
can't.
Francisco.
Oh man.
I don't know if you know, but there's an app where you can track people where they shit.
Oh no.
There's an app for that.
Wait, like, what do you mean? Like
You download it and it tells people like where people find shit on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
It's so crazy.
I'm gonna download it.
Yeah.
I'm so downloading it.
That, and then it's crazy because my buddy was in San Francisco recently. I think he just stopped for like 30 minutes to get something.
Right.
Smash window, stolen
See?
everything. Yeah.
Fuck that.
That's insane.
What's it called? The
Smash and grab?
Oh, Smash and Grab. No,
Yeah.
not that.
Oh.
But the district in San Francisco. Oh my gosh, there's a certain area. Not Lombard. That's a freaking. I'll think of it. But there's like
Yeah.
a certain area where they just contain it. Oh, the Tenderloin.
Huh.
Tenderloin district in San Francisco. So we stayed in San Francisco not too long ago. It was great. And then as we're leaving, my husband's like, "Should we take the girls to the Tenderloin?" I'm like, "Damn right. They got to see this." We didn't tell them. We're just driving through, and my daughter's eyes were like, "Mama." The little one, she had no idea what's going on, but the older one, she was like, she caught on.
Uh-huh.
She's like, why is there so many people here? That's where they sleep. I'm like, that's where they do everything. Yep, this is their home. She's like, but the police department's right there. It says Tenderloin police. Like the precinct is right there.
Right.
She's like, why don't they do anything? I said, they don't do anything about it here. They just keep it contained. As long as you don't leave these 3 blocks of the Tenderloin, like that's where you can go shoot up drugs on the street, you can sell drugs on the street, take shits on the street. San Francisco PD won't do anything about it right there.
I would think also it's kind of encouraged. It's like people I seen like make food for them and stuff. I mean, I kind of feel for them, but at the same time, it's like
Right.
kind of
It's
tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm a parent, and so when I see these young kids, some of them are young, early 20s, look jacked up, and all I can think is like, damn, hopefully somebody cares about you. Somebody cared about you, and you're somebody's baby, and they don't even know where you're at and what you're doing, probably, right? Like I was at the gas station not too long ago, and I'm pumping gas, and this guy came up to the window, and I was like, sorry, I don't have anything. I just have my card. He's like, okay. And I could tell it was raining. And when I looked at him, he's young, looked rough, but he was young. Really young eyes, skin and bones, messed up teeth, dirty, just had like a wet soaking blanket. And so he was outside the gas station when I was done, and I was like, screw it. So I walked up and I said, hey, are you hungry? And he said, yes. I said, let's go inside. I'll buy you some food. And then I got all mom on him. I'm like, get something with nutrition, please. Don't get chips and not sugared drinks. Get something good. So, we got some food, but that's that compassionate part.
Yeah.
It's just like, he's all messed up on drugs. You can just tell. And he just wanted some food. So I can't deny someone that's hungry.
Yeah.
You got to feed them. I love food. So I'm like, I couldn't imagine not being able to feed my babies or feed myself. So
Right.
it's one of those things.
Yeah. Okay, so with the podcast that you're doing, so how do you get inspired to do an episode? Is it just like whenever you come up with an idea, or is it just...
Right. So I felt like the first season, like I had so much in me, and I still do have a lot in me, but over the years, as being a crime scene investigator, friends, family, random strangers, we meet at dinner. Oh my gosh, tell me a story. How the craziest shit you've ever seen. And I do. And I'm like, too much? They're like, it's a little too much. No. So I thought everyone always wants to know like about my stories and crime scene and what we do.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, it's time for me to share it.
Right.
But I want to share that from my perspective, because there was a lot of people that want to get into this field too. And so I don't want to be like all technical, like this is how you do crime scene. Hell no. I want to tell them like the real raw stories of what I see and bring them into my world. So cool. Podcast, let's go. Especially during the pandemic, like creative project.
yeah.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
So that's where the juices started flowing. So yes, now it's my husband's always like, you have 1 million stories. You've been to 1 million scenes. Like, get with it, girl. He's like my manager. He's like, come on, give me content. And I'm like, I don't have anything. And I'm like, oh yeah, there was this one time. And so it is. It's when an idea comes back to me, or I'm actively working still, so I can't talk about a case, but I can talk about an experience I had or an interaction. And so, yeah, it's just when I get inspired or I want to send a message. Like recently, I just sat down with a detective and we're going to talk about a child abuse case that I really want to share.
Right.
And So I recorded him. I just need to get my part out. So that'll be the next episode.
Cool.
I don't know what it's going to be called yet, but it's going to be about child abuse, and not so much the graphic details of what happened to the children, but my experience being there and seeing where it all took place.
Okay.
And giving people insight, because I want people to feel like they're there with me when I tell the story. I want you right next to me when I'm walking through a crime scene. So
yeah, it's good for, like you said, people that want to be there or just people that want to get involved.
Right.
So
I need to do an educational one as well.
That'd be cool. I don't know if do you do video as well? Because
I need to.
It would be cool. Yeah, just to have video.
Right. I need to.
Yeah.
I think I'm at a stage in my career where I'm now getting asked from, 17, 18, or high school to college.
Yeah.
How do I do what you do? What do I need to do? So I've been mentoring a lot, answering, giving a lot of just sit down talks and talking about life and what we need to do to get there. So I'm kind of at that stage now.
Cool.
It's time for me to give back.
Cool. Well, your podcast is called The Walls Do Talk.
Yes.
And where can people find you and just follow your stories? And
awesome. Yes. Yeah. So right now I'm on Spotify. You can follow me on Spotify at The Walls Do Talk. And then on Instagram, you can follow me at The Walls Do Talk podcast and check out my content there. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it was awesome talking to you and hearing your stories. Yes. And definitely look forward to hearing more.
Yes, so. Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you too.
Likewise.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Gonna see Adam on Monday.
Huh?
Adam will be here Monday.
Adam? Oh, he's coming Monday?
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk to him on Monday.
Hey, get ready. No, joking. Great. Cool. I'm excited. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.